I was just helping my best friend's mom carry groceries. That's it. No plan, no expectations. But the second she closed the door behind me, I knew something was different, and I wasn't ready for what came next. I've known Tyler since we were kids. We met in third grade, bonded over Pokemon cards and Nerf battles, and somehow stayed friends through high school drama, summer jobs, and now college life. He's the kind of guy who's always down for late night drives, cheap pizza, and video game marathons. His house became our go-to hangout spot years ago, and it stayed that way even after his parents split and his dad moved out. I remember the first time I saw his mom, Marissa. It was back in middle school, but even then, she didn't look like the mom type. She was fit, always well put together with these sharp green eyes and a calm presence. She worked long hours at the local pharmacy, always polite but distant, like someone who carried too much in silence. Over the years, we'd exchange casual hellos, the kind that say, I know you, but we don't talk. Now I'm 22, still figuring out life, finishing my senior year in business school, living in a shared apartment not far from Tyler's place. I'd stopped by that afternoon just to pick up my laptop charger. We'd been studying together the night before, and I'd left it on his kitchen counter. Tyler wasn't home. He texted, saying he was still at work and to just grab it myself. His mom was supposed to be there, though. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw her unloading bags from the back of her car. It was a sunny Thursday, warm air, light breeze, the kind of fall day that makes you forget anything stressful. She was bent over the trunk, wearing jeans and a loose blouse, hair pulled up casually. She didn't see me at first. I stepped out of my car and called out, Hey, need a hand? She looked up, startled at first, then relaxed when she saw me. Oh, Jake, hi, I didn't hear you drive up. Thought I'd help. You look like you've got your hands full. A small smile tugged at her lips. That would be great, actually. Thank you. I grabbed two of the heavier bags, full of bottled water and canned goods, and followed her up the steps toward the front door. She unlocked it, nudged it open with her shoulder, and stepped aside so I could enter. The house smelled like citrus cleaner and a faint trace of coffee. Familiar, quiet. Tyler's dog, Max, wasn't there. Must have been at the groomer or vet. I set the bags on the kitchen counter and turned to say I'd just grab my charger and head out. But then came the moment that stuck. She closed the door. Not like she slammed it or anything. It clicked softly shut behind her, but it wasn't casual. There was something intentional in the way her fingers rested on the knob for just a second longer than needed. I glanced at her. She looked at me. You're always so polite, she said, walking past me into the kitchen, her voice smooth and low. Most guys your age wouldn't bother helping. I shrugged. It's nothing, just groceries. It's not nothing. It's rare, she replied, beginning to unpack eggs and vegetables. Especially these days. There was something in her tone I couldn't place. Maybe tiredness, maybe something else. I stood awkwardly, unsure if I should say goodbye and leave or wait until she mentioned the charger. Before I could decide, she glanced over her shoulder. Jake, can you grab the last couple bags from the car? There's one more tray of bottled water I can't carry with one hand. Yeah, of course. The sun was still warm as I walked back to the driveway. I told myself I was just being weird, overthinking. A closed door meant nothing, but still, I felt it. Something shifted in the air. I came back in with the last two bags. She had music playing now, low, some acoustic playlists, probably Spotify. She was pouring herself a glass of water. Set those here, she said, tapping the island counter. You want something to drink? Water? I'm good, thanks, I said, though my throat was a little dry. You sure? She asked, her eyes meeting mine. And for a split second, I forgot how to answer. There was a pause. Not long, just a second too many. She looked away first, reaching for a carton of strawberries. So how's school? I gave the usual answers. Busy, finals coming up, projects, you know. I bet Tyler's been a mess about midterms. I'm guessing you keep him on track. I chuckled. I try. She smiled again, this time softer. You've grown up a lot, you know. Thanks. She laughed lightly, shaking her head. That sounded weird, didn't it? I rubbed the back of my neck. No, it's just unexpected. You used to be the scrawny little kid glued to your skateboard, and now you're—" She waved a hand toward me. Grown. I didn't know what to say to that. Compliments from someone like Marissa hit differently. She wasn't the flirty type, wasn't someone who said things she didn't mean. "Anyway," she said, clearing her throat, "your charger's on the counter. Tyler mentioned you'd come by." I walked over to grab it, almost relieved to have a reason to move. I could feel her watching me, though. Not in an obvious way, just quietly. "I should probably get going," I said, tucking the charger into my bag. She leaned against the counter, holding her glass, one foot crossed over the other. "You're welcome to stay a bit if you're not in a rush. I don't get a lot of company lately." I hesitated. There was nothing I had to be at. No urgent plans. But something about the way she said it made me stop. "I've got time," I said. She smiled and motioned toward the small bar stools at the island. "Sit." I did. She poured herself more water and sat across from me. And for the next 20 minutes, we just talked. About nothing, about everything, about classes, about Tyler's weird habits, about how she couldn't cook rice without ruining it. I didn't know where it was going, but it didn't feel wrong. It felt easy, comfortable in a way I hadn't expected. But then the timer on her oven beeped, something she'd started baking while we talked. She got up, moved across the kitchen, and when she bent down to check whatever was inside, I caught myself staring, not just at her, but at the way the light hit her hair, the curve of her shoulder, the stillness of her expression. She looked back over her shoulder and caught me. Our eyes met. Neither of us looked away. And that's when I knew for sure this wasn't just about groceries. The next few days were strange. Not in a bad way, just off, like I'd stepped into a parallel version of my life, where the rules weren't quite the same anymore. My brain kept circling back to that afternoon in Marissa's kitchen. The way she looked at me, the soft tone of her voice, the way she didn't rush to fill the silence. It wasn't dramatic or loud. It was subtle, slow, like a song you don't realize is stuck in your head until you catch yourself humming it in the shower. I didn't tell anyone, not even Tyler. Especially not Tyler. I just chalked it up as a weird moment and moved on. Or tried to. But that same night, I got a message from Marissa. "Hey, sorry to text so late. Did you leave a baseball cap here? Navy blue with a white logo." I stared at the screen for a second. I hadn't left a cap. I hadn't even brought one. "I don't think so," I texted back. "Pretty sure I had it in my car." Marissa replied, "I found one near the door. Thought maybe it was yours. Could swing by tomorrow and check. I'm driving past anyway." Marissa, "Sure, no rush. I'm home most of the day." No emoji, no unnecessary words, just that same casual tone she always used. But somehow it didn't feel casual at all. The next day I showed up wearing a fresh t-shirt and pretending it was no big deal. I knocked on the door, cap in hand just in case, and waited. Marissa opened it almost immediately, like she'd been standing just out of sight. She wore a soft gray hoodie and leggings, hair down this time, resting over one shoulder. She smiled when she saw me. "Hey, didn't think you'd actually come." I held up the cap. "Had to solve the mystery." She laughed and stepped aside. "Come on in. It's not yours, by the way. I double-checked. Must have been Tyler's from months ago." I followed her into the kitchen again. Familiar smells washed over me. Vanilla, coffee, something citrusy in the background. A half-empty mug sat near the sink. The dishwasher hummed low in the corner. It felt too quiet, too still, but not uncomfortable. "I just made coffee," she said, pulling a second mug from the cabinet. "Want some?" "Sure." We ended up sitting on the couch in the living room this time, a low instrumental playlist playing through her phone. The mug was warm in my hands and I could feel the caffeine hit almost instantly. "I thought about texting you," she said suddenly, "but I wasn't sure if that would be weird." I looked over. "It wasn't weird." "You paused," she said, a hint of a smirk. "I was thinking about whether you actually found a hat or just wanted an excuse to talk again." Marissa didn't respond right away. She smiled slightly and looked down at her mug. "Well," she said, "maybe a bit of both." That confession hung in the air, light and dangerous. I felt my pulse quicken, though everything around us remained calm. Is that bad? She asked quietly, still looking down. No, I said. Not bad. She nodded once, like that was all she needed to hear. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that didn't demand attention. The music shifted into a softer, slower melody. I think I just get lonely sometimes, she said eventually. Not in a dramatic way, just in the quiet moments after work, on the weekends, you know? I nodded. Yeah, I get that. Marissa leaned back into the couch, tucking one leg under herself. Tyler's gone a lot. Friends, classes, work. It's not his fault. He's living his life. But this house, it used to be loud, full. Now most nights, it's just me. I looked at her. Really looked. She was beautiful, yes. But there was more than that. There was a weight in her voice, something deep and unsaid behind her words. She wasn't looking for compliments. She wasn't looking for validation. She just wanted someone to hear her. You're easy to talk to, she said suddenly, glancing my way. You too, she smiled. That's rare. We didn't touch. We didn't sit too close. But everything in that room buzzed with something we weren't naming. I finished my coffee and set the mug down. It was getting late. I should probably head out, I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. Marissa stood and walked me to the door. She opened it but didn't step aside. Her eyes met mine again, those same green eyes I'd known since I was 12, except they didn't feel the same now. Not even close. Thanks for stopping by, she said softly. No problem. Thanks for the coffee. I stepped out onto the porch. She stayed in the doorway. Jake, I turned. Be careful, she said. With what? With wanting things you're not ready for. That hit me square in the chest. I wanted to ask what she meant, but something told me not to. I just nodded. I will. She closed the door gently behind me. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept going over everything. What she'd said, how she'd looked at me, how natural it all felt, even when it shouldn't have. The next few days we didn't talk. I thought about texting her, but I didn't. I saw Tyler a few times, at the gym, grabbing lunch, and kept everything buried. He was clueless, and I hated myself a little for lying, even if I hadn't said anything out loud. But by Saturday, I'd cracked. I sent her a simple message. Hey, you home? The typing bubble appeared almost instantly. Marissa. Yeah, come by. I didn't even reply. I was already getting in the car. I didn't know what I was walking into that Saturday afternoon. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual, the road a blur beneath my tires. It wasn't like I expected anything specific. No dramatic moment, no movie scene kiss in the rain, no slow motion embrace. I just needed to see her again and maybe understand why it felt like I couldn't stay away. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same as always. Quiet, peaceful, suburban perfection. But it felt different, like I was stepping into something I didn't quite understand yet. I rang the doorbell. The chime echoed inside. A few seconds passed. Then the door opened, and there she was. Marissa wore a soft ivory sweater that hung slightly off one shoulder, paired with dark jeans and house slippers. Her hair was tied in a loose braid, like she hadn't bothered to make it neat. She looked surprised, even though she told me to come. Jake, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Hey. There was a moment between us where neither of us moved. Then she stepped aside, wordlessly inviting me in. The house smelled like lavender and warm bread. Something was in the oven again. Do you want something to drink? She asked as she closed the door behind me. Sure, water's fine. She nodded and walked into the kitchen. I followed, standing near the counter as she filled a glass at the sink. The silence stretched, but it wasn't awkward. It was loaded, like we both knew there was something hovering above us that hadn't landed yet. She handed me the glass. Our fingers brushed. That single touch hit harder than it should have. I didn't think you'd actually come, she said. I didn't think I would either. Marissa leaned back against the kitchen counter, arms crossed loosely, looking at me in that way she always did, like she could see things I didn't even know I was showing. You okay? She asked. I don't know, I said. She tilted her head. Why not? Because this feels like something, and I don't know what that something is. Marissa didn't speak right away. She turned and walked to the table, pulling out a chair and sitting down slowly. I've been thinking about that too, she said. And the truth is, I don't have an answer. I sat across from her. The table between us felt like a line we hadn't dared cross. I'm not looking for anything messy, she said. No drama, no one getting hurt. Me neither, I replied. I just can't stop thinking about you. That made her exhale, slow and quiet, like she'd been holding her breath without realizing it. I don't know when it happened, I added, but it's been there since that afternoon with the groceries, the way you closed the door, the way you looked at me. Marissa looked down at her hands. That wasn't planned. I know. She glanced up, her voice low. You're young, Jake. I'm not a kid. I didn't say you were, she replied gently. I let that sit. Then I said, so, what now? She didn't answer right away. Then she stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the backyard, the same yard where I'd played basketball with Tyler 100 times. The sun was starting to dip lower, casting long shadows across the lawn. I used to be like you, she said softly, chasing feelings, wanting things without knowing why, thinking everything had to mean something. I stood too, walking over to stand near her, not touching, just close enough to feel the warmth from her sweater. But this, she added, still staring out the window, this doesn't feel like a mistake, does it? No, I said. It doesn't. She turned her head slightly toward me. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. And if I kissed you right now? My breath caught. I wouldn't stop you. She didn't move right away, just looked at me, measured me. Then slowly, Marissa stepped closer. Her hand came up, fingers grazing the side of my jaw. And then she kissed me, soft, slow, like she was testing both of us. My hands found her waist, lightly, cautiously, like I was afraid to press too far. But she didn't pull away. She leaned into it. And suddenly everything else fell away. The rules, the titles, the guilt. There was no mom, no friend, no history, just two people who couldn't deny what was already there. We didn't say much after that. She walked back to the kitchen and checked whatever was baking. Muffins, I think. I helped her take them out of the oven and place them on a cooling rack. It was almost absurd how normal it all felt, like kissing her hadn't just thrown a wrench into the fabric of reality. We sat on the couch again, this time closer. Are we insane? I asked quietly. Probably, she said. And you're okay with that? Marissa smiled, her eyes warm and tired, and maybe a little scared. I don't know what I'm okay with yet. I just know I wanted to kiss you, and I don't regret it. Neither did I. We sat there for hours, sipping tea, eating muffins, watching some mindless movie that played mostly as background noise. When the credits rolled, the room was dim with twilight. I looked at the clock. It was almost 9. I should probably go, I said. She nodded. Probably. But neither of us moved. Eventually I stood. She walked me to the door, but this time didn't open it right away. I don't want this to be a one-time thing, I said. She looked up at me, serious now. It can't be more than it is. I know. No promises, Jake. No expectations. I'm not asking for that. Just honesty. She nodded slowly. Then yes. I want to see you again. And then she opened the door. I stepped outside, the cool air washing over me. My heart was still pounding as I walked to my car. Halfway down the street, I pulled over, not because I needed to check my phone, but because I needed a second to breathe. Something had shifted, and I wasn't sure I could ever go back to pretending it hadn't. It didn't take long for things to get complicated. At first, it was just quiet moments. Late afternoons at her place, long talks on the back porch, light touches when no one was looking. We never said we were anything. We didn't even try to define it. But we also didn't stop. And the more I saw her, the harder it became to keep everything separated. My life with Tyler, my life with her. Some nights I'd sit at a bar with my friends, laughing, joking, pretending everything was normal. Then I'd drive across town to Marissa's house and lose myself in a world where everything slowed down, where her voice calmed me in ways I didn't realize I needed, where her hands in my hair made me forget I had any responsibilities at all. But hiding something like that doesn't get easier. It gets heavier. Tyler didn't notice at first, or if he did, he didn't say anything. We still hung out like always, ordering wings, playing Xbox, skipping classes we swore we'd attend. He didn't know that sometimes when he left for his night shift, I'd circle back to his house, that sometimes his mom would leave the porch light on for me. One Friday evening, I dropped by their house under the excuse of helping him install a new shelf in his room. He had music playing loud, a drill in one hand and a Red Bull in the other. "Man, my mom said you stopped by last week," he said casually while lining up the brackets. "Said something about a hat." I froze for half a second, then nodded. "Yeah, thought I left one. False alarm." He didn't look up. "She likes you, you know. Thinks you're a good kid." I laughed a little too quickly. "I try." "She also thinks you're quiet lately," he added, more focused on the wall than the words. "Said you seem different." I swallowed. "Guess school's been messing with my head." He shrugged, tightening the screws. "Happens." We didn't talk about it again, but I could feel his eyes on me more often after that. A week later, Marissa invited me over for dinner. Just us. She made grilled chicken, roasted potatoes, and some kind of wine that tasted expensive. She wore a dark red blouse and had curled her hair slightly. I couldn't stop staring at her across the table. "This feels too perfect," I said, pushing my plate forward. She smiled over the rim of her wine glass. "Why is that a bad thing?" "Because I don't trust perfect." Marissa reached across the table and touched my hand lightly. "Neither do I, but this doesn't have to be forever. It just has to be real." It was the first time we said something close to real out loud. That night, after we cleaned up the dishes, I stayed on the couch a little longer. She curled beside me, head on my chest, our fingers laced together. "I wish it didn't feel like we're stealing this," I whispered. "We're not stealing," she said. "We're borrowing. But life has a way of catching up." A few days later, Tyler called me around noon. "Dude, are you coming over later? I need help moving some stuff in the garage." "Yeah, sure," I said. Marissa hadn't mentioned anything about being home, but I figured we'd keep it short. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was there. Inside, the garage was a mess, boxes stacked, old tools everywhere, some forgotten treadmill collecting dust. Tyler tossed me a pair of gloves. "Help me move these shelves out. They're junk." We got to work, laughing, cursing at tangled cords. At one point, I ran inside to grab a bottle of water. I didn't expect to see Marissa in the kitchen. She wore yoga pants and a black tank top, hair in a loose bun. She looked up when she saw me, eyes briefly wide, then softened. "Hey," she said. "Hey!" She moved toward the fridge and grabbed a water bottle, handing it to me. Our fingers brushed, like always. But this time, Tyler stepped into the room right behind me. "You guys good in here?" he asked. Marissa stepped back immediately. "Just grabbing water." I cleared my throat. "Yeah, all good." Tyler's eyes flicked between us. Something passed over his face. A flicker. Fast, but not invisible. I left as soon as we finished the shelves, and the next day he didn't text me at all. 3 days later, it all came undone. I was at home when I got the message. "Tyler, we need to talk." I didn't reply right away, just sat there staring at the screen, pulse rising. Another text followed. "Tyler, at my place now." I drove over in silence, the engine humming, the only sound. When I got there, he was already on the porch, arms crossed. "Come in," he said, voice flat. Inside, the house felt cold, too quiet, too still. Tyler walked into the living room and stood by the coffee table. My stomach dropped the moment I saw what was sitting there. His mom's phone, unlocked, a message open from me. Me. "Last night was amazing. I'll come by again tomorrow if the light's still on. Marissa. I'll be waiting. Don't knock. Just come in." I felt like I'd been hit in the chest. "Tyler, He held up a hand. "Don't. Just don't." I stayed frozen in the doorway. "How long?" he asked, voice quieter now. "How long has this been going on?" I hesitated. "A couple months." He turned away, like even looking at me hurt. "You were in my house, man. You sat next to me, played games, ate with us, while sneaking around with my mom." "I didn't plan it," I said. "It just happened. I didn't expect to feel—" "Don't talk about feelings," he snapped. "Don't even go there." I stepped closer, cautiously. "She was lonely, so was I. It wasn't about hurting you." "Well, you did." Silence fell between us, thick and suffocating. I need time, he finally said. Don't text me. Don't come here. Don't talk to her. And just like that, I knew something had broken. Something that couldn't be fixed overnight. The silence between Tyler and me stretched into weeks. At first, I gave him space like he asked. No calls, no texts, no accidental run-ins. Every time I passed his street, something inside me tightened. The driveway where we used to shoot hoops, the porch steps where we'd sit and laugh like we had all the time in the world. All of it felt distant now, like a photograph left out in the sun, familiar but fading. I didn't see Marissa during that time either. Not because I didn't want to, but because it didn't feel right. Whatever we'd had, those quiet evenings, the stolen glances, the comfort in each other, was buried now beneath layers of guilt and tension. It didn't matter that it started out simple. It didn't matter that it had felt real. Reality had caught up, and it came with consequences. About a month later, I finally got a message from Tyler. I'm at the park, if you want to talk. My heart jumped into my throat. I grabbed my jacket and left without replying, unsure what I'd even say when I saw him. I pulled up to the edge of the park, spotting him on a bench near the basketball court where we used to play. He didn't look up as I approached, just sat there, elbows on his knees, staring at the ground. I sat next to him, a few inches apart. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, he broke the silence. My mom told me everything, he said. I nodded slowly. Okay. She said you weren't looking for anything, that it just happened. She's right. He let out a long breath. I wanted to hate you, man. I wouldn't blame you. But I kept thinking about all those nights you hung out with me, how you never said anything, and how she looked lighter when you were around. I turned to him. Ty, I never meant to betray you. It wasn't some plan. I didn't even know what I was feeling until it was already happening. He finally looked at me. His eyes were tired but not angry anymore, just hurt. She's my mom, he said. You get how weird that is for me? Yeah, I do. And I'm not going to pretend it's cool. I don't know if we'll ever go back to what we were, but I'm tired of carrying this around. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Me too, Tyler nodded. Just do me a favor. Anything. Don't lie to me again. I won't. He stood up and dusted off his hands. We'll figure it out. I don't hate you, Jake, but I need time. I get it. And with that, he walked off across the grass. Later that evening, I found myself driving down a familiar street. I didn't plan to stop, but I did. Her porch light was on. I stood at the bottom of the steps for a full minute, just staring. Then I knocked. The door opened, and there she was, barefoot in black leggings and an oversized cream sweater. Her hair was down, falling over one shoulder. She didn't look surprised. Hey, she said softly. Hey. We stood there, words trapped behind silence. Can I come in? She stepped aside. Of course. The inside of her house felt the same. Clean, warm, still, like time hadn't moved at all. She led me to the kitchen, poured us both some water, and leaned against the counter. How's Tyler? She asked. We talked, I said. He's not okay, but he's not shutting me out either. She nodded. That's good. I miss you, I added. Her eyes didn't leave mine. I miss you too, but I think we broke something, I said. All of us. Marissa's expression softened. Maybe, or maybe we just changed it. I stepped closer. I don't know what this is anymore. Neither do I, and maybe that's okay. She smiled gently, the corners of her eyes crinkling. Maybe. I looked around the kitchen at the light reflecting off the glass vase still sitting on the windowsill. Wildflowers faded now, but still holding on. Do you regret any of it? I asked. She shook her head. No, you? Not for a second. Marissa reached for my hand across the counter. Her fingers were warm, steady. We don't have to name it, she said. We don't have to promise forever, but if this matters to you even now, then we can still have something, even if it's small, even if it's quiet. I squeezed her hand gently. I want that. And we stood there for a long time, not rushing, not planning, just sharing a space that felt honest again. A few months passed. I found a small place across town, cheap, nothing fancy, but mine. Tyler and I slowly repaired our friendship. It wasn't what it used to be, but we were rebuilding one step at a time. And Marissa, we never made it public, never tried to turn it into something traditional. But every now and then, when the night was quiet and the sky was soft with stars, I'd knock on her door. Or sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I'd find the porch light already on. She didn't just close the door behind me. She opened something I never saw coming. In the quiet moments of a seemingly ordinary afternoon, where a simple act of carrying groceries leads to a closed door and a charged silence, Marissa and Jake's story reveals a profound life lesson. Honesty in our emotions, even when complicated, can forge connections that change us forever. Their journey from casual conversations to a kiss that defied boundaries shows that life's most meaningful moments often arise from vulnerability, not perfection. Marissa's courage to admit her loneliness and Jake's willingness to meet her in that raw space teach us that true connection requires seeing each other beyond roles or expectations. Yet the story also reminds us of the weight of our choices, their secret, though born from genuine feeling, fractured trust with Tyler, proving that even honest emotions can carry consequences when hidden. In our own lives, we've all faced moments where desire clashed with duty, whether it's a forbidden spark or a truth we're afraid to voice. This tale urges us to embrace our feelings but tread carefully, balancing authenticity with the impact on those we care about. It's a bittersweet reminder that human connection, while beautiful, demands accountability. Marissa and Jake's quiet, imperfect bond stirs a deep ache for understanding, urging us to seek spaces where we can be real without shame. Have you ever navigated a moment where your heart pulled you one way and loyalty another? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found balance in those emotional storms. If this resonated, hit subscribe and join our community for more stories that dive into the messy, beautiful truth of being human